Figure it out. There we go. Got it.
Recording
That's
in
true. I
progress.
didn't see that last time. So that
No,
should
I
have been
did
the
wrong
kicker. I should have known
amateur.
better.
I'm good at some things, just not others.
Yeah.
I know.
IT
Yeah.
is not one of mine. That's for sure.
No, we need an IT guy in the house. So yeah, I did a few test runs with Kristen, my wife, and seems to be better now. So anyway, we'll just get back into it. So hey everybody, this is Team Wilpers Cycling Challenge. Welcome to Sunday. We're about to start week 2 of the challenge, and I'm joined here with Coach Brian Hammond, who Brian, we've never really met in person, but I think we have a pretty similar background as far as cycling and coaching goes. But would you tell us all a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, it's like we're almost a carbon copy of each other. Yeah, I've been in New York City coaching and bike fitting in New York City for the last 20 plus years, almost 25 years, 24 years, right? So about the same as you. Racing wise, like I grew up racing BMX bikes, racing mountain bikes, currently still racing mountain bikes, gravel bikes, road bikes, and I'm actually also a pilot for a blind athlete for road cycling, triathlon as well. So a lot of bike racing experience in my background. And bike fitting, I've had a studio here in New York City called True Fit Solutions now for, man, it's got to be 10 plus years for the studio aspect of it, for the bike fitting part.
Awesome. So yeah, like we both said, similar backgrounds, but I think you have way more experience and got into the fit aspect of coaching, which is super important. And I did want to touch on that for my group doing this challenge, because before you take on any challenge or do any plan, whatever, if the bike doesn't fit, you could run into some problems. So maybe I'll start right there. Like, why is bike fit important?
Yeah, that's, bike fitting has changed over the last 10 years, especially over the last, 3 years with the pandemic. Is bike fitting is not just for the professionals. Bike fitting is not just for the person who's racing, the person who's trying to maximize their power output. I mean, does that happen? Yeah, for sure, right? That's one of our main goals, is to maximize your performance on the bike, but it's not just the top of the leaderboard, right? The person at the bottom of the leaderboard trying to get to the middle of the leaderboard, or just the person trying to ride better, benefits from a bike fit. And the reason they benefit from a bike fit is we reduce the risk of injury, right? If that bike is set up wrong, we've talked about this, where it's like 60, 70, 80 RPM a minute for 30, 60 minutes, you're bending that knee 5,000 times, right? So if you're bending it too much with a little too much pressure, sooner or later that, it snaps. Sooner or later, it's not feeling pretty good. So bike fit's about comfort. Bike fit is about getting your body in the right position for proper leverage. So you're getting out of the bike what you're putting into the bike. Work hard, get that power that's coming out of it too. There's no point of working hard and not seeing that power respond.
Totally. And with infinite settings on the saddle, the pedals, the cleat positions, the handlebars, there's infinite settings. And how do you even begin to do that? But I heard you say comfort, I heard you say performance, but maybe first and foremost is injury prevention. Repetitive stress of cycling can do some damage if you're not aligned, if you don't have the bike aligned with your physiology. So
that's the number one concern should always be injury prevention, right? Not doing something that's going to cause something you're doing for a healthy endeavor, right? Like, we buy these Pelotons, we join these challenges because we're trying to make a positive change in our life. Like, the worst thing you want to do is have something that's hurting you along the way, right? That's just that's not the goal. The goal is to get healthy and happy. So to get injured and sad is the worst thing possible. So, you spend a ton of time on this bike, or you're going to spend a lot of time on this bike. You've made an investment on the bike. Let's just make sure it's set up properly. And, you can use that elbow to the finger bars and stuff like that. Those guidelines are old. I'm not even sure who made these things up, but they're going to work for a couple people, right? but it's not going to
That
work for everybody for sure.
right. That's so interesting. I've told you before. I had one professional bike fit, but it was years ago, maybe 15 years ago, maybe even more than that. And yeah, I think they measured my inseam. They had the thing they pulled up pulled up to your crotch and measured and
Hmm.
said, all right, that determines your frame size and your saddle seat and just about everything else. And that was the extent of the fitting. And then I'm just recalling. I also had a personal training business that I ran out of a physical therapy clinic in Manhattan, and pretty much the first thing that any lower body patient was told to do is go get on the bike. But
Yeah.
with no guidance, they didn't fit the bike. And you're talking about injury prevention and now rehab without being just go pedal is the prescription, or was the prescription. And now you're saying
Yeah.
it's come so much further.
Yeah, the hard part with that is, the bike is used in physical therapy or recovery a lot, especially with runners and older population, stuff like that, because, the great thing about running is it doesn't have that impact. You're not running, you're not going up and down stairs and things like that. So we're not worried about that pounding on the joints, the pounding on the bones, things of that nature, but it's the repetitive nature, especially the knee joint, right? The knee joint is, if you're just bending that too deep, like think about doing deep squats all day. Right. I mean, if you did 5,000 deep squats in a day, your knees are probably going to hurt a little bit. Right. So if that saddle's too low and you're bending that knee too much, or too far forward and you're bending that knee too much, or the cleat position is too far forward and you're bending that knee too much, that can cause a problem down the road. Or if you are rehabbing and trying to take care of, runner's knee, something like that, the bike could actually be a deterrent on that. You're rehabbing it, getting better, but yet the bike is stressing it a little bit too much. And ankle, especially, a lot of force going through that ankle joint, the plantar fascia, Achilles tendonitis, things that people kind of deal with in this running and just day-to-day life. How many people have plantar fasciitis from their shoes that they wear on a day-to-day basis? Cycling and having that cleat in the wrong position, saddle in the wrong position, could definitely put more strain in that area. So yeah, this is not like an injury-free sport, that's for sure. Is it less than running? Sure, because we don't have the impact, but the high repetition is what makes this dangerous for an overuse perspective.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so you've got me scared. I definitely want to come and see you, but I don't think our whole group can come and see you within the next day or two. So if I'm gonna check my fit or start to adjust my fit on my own, what am I looking for? Am I looking for how the bike feels, how the weight distribution? What am I looking? How do I get started on my own?
Yeah, it's great, a great question. And it's hard. Obviously, like everybody's in a different place. If you have a cycling background, you've recently been mountain biking or road biking or even commuting on a bike, that's always your best bet. How does that bike feel? What's the saddle height feel like? What's the length of your leg feel like? What's the weight distribution feel like? How much weight's in your saddle and your hands and your legs? Like, you always go by that first. Now, a lot of people come to indoor biking with really no history of cycling, or the history of cycling they might have been when they were in sixth grade or, 12 years old, riding around their neighborhood. And this bike is completely different than that. So how does that person start? Hop on, start riding, right? And one of the things I go through with a lot of my clients is, when you get on that bike and you start riding, think about how much weight's in your foot at the bottom of the pedal stroke. Can you feel that pedal? Can you feel like you can push through that pedal? There's something there to drive against. And how does the saddle feel? You want that pelvis to be nice and stable. We don't want our pelvis rocking back and forth. We should be pretty stable there. A little bit of motion's okay. Your legs are moving, so a little rocking is okay. We don't want a reaching feel. And then just slowly start taking that saddle up and up and up and up. If any of those pressures change, your foot starts feeling lighter, your saddle starts feeling heavier, you start feeling a rocking in the hips, drop it down a little bit. Does it go away? Do you get that feeling back in your feet? There's your saddle height, right? Because if I can't push against the pedal at the bottom, I can't put power into it. The hard part about these bikes is, most indoor bikes are direct drive, meaning if that front flywheel is moving, your pedals are moving.
Yeah,
We've all done that, right? We've all tried to stop pedaling for a second and then feel like you're going to be bucked off your bike. So the problem with that is what happens a lot of times is people get what I call the yo-yo pedal. right? Which is they get down to the bottom of the pedal stroke and they literally throw the pedal away from them. It's like the pedal kind of disappears and then comes back to them,
Yeah.
right? Because their leg just isn't quite long enough. So they actually feel lightning in the bottom of their shoe, and then it comes back to them, just like throwing a yo-yo down, right? Throw it down, comes back, throw it down, come back. So you want to make sure you're not missing that bottom of that pedal stroke or needing to point the toe to really get to the bottom of that pedal stroke. So saddle height is really the key. Forward and aft is much harder. It's really about knee angle. It's really about foot angle for that forward aft. So it's a little bit harder one to dial in. It also affects posture. So, I would recommend, if you can't get into a fit quick, videotape yourself from the side view. What do you look like? Do you look slouched and rounded? Can you straighten that back? Does it look like good posture? And use the instructors as a guide. What does their posture look like? Do they have a flat back? Are they rounded? Like, what does it look like and what do you look like? Now, they might be here in this perfection world and you're way down here. Yeah, should we go from here completely rounded back to completely straight back? No, but people are going to be along the way, like evolution, right? You think of that photo of evolution, like that's the way it kind of hope, where are you in this path and where's the next step to kind of flatten that out? So have eyeballs comparison, like, and just try to say what looks right, what doesn't look right. The hard part is about what do I move to correct it? And that's where a bike fitter really comes in. I understand why I'm moving the seat back. And if I do move the seat back, do I have to lower it? Do I have to raise it? What else has to move because I made a change? You can't change one thing typically without changing something else.
Right. Oh, that's awesome. So I would now feel comfortable setting my saddle height and kind of know what to look for as far as how the bike feels. And you even touched on posture, and that could bring the handlebars into play, and that you don't want to be rounded over like this, but you do want to have a more flat back. But I like what you said about a continuous process and an evolution. And I've always said, hey, a bike fit is not set and forget. Even if they do get to you, or if they do get a position that they like and feels good and feels comfortable on their own, it might not be good for life. Is that correct?
For sure, right? That's the rules. The rules are, if your body changes, your fitness changes, or your goals change, any one of those, your bike probably needs to change along with it, right? Because if my fitness changes, I might be able to now get into a different position that I was limited to before. Maybe my handlebars can go lower. Maybe that reach can be a little bit farther. Maybe my saddle can go up because maybe I'm limited because of tight hamstrings or tight fascia. That's limiting how much my leg can extend before I feel like I'm reaching, right? So just by increasing range of motion, your saddle height might change. You haven't gotten taller necessarily, but your range of motion has changed, which affected that, right? If your fitness has changed, I'm stronger in certain places. I can hold more weight in my feet. Maybe I can change that weight balance a little bit, or my goals changed. Maybe I used to be racing all the time and doing VO2 max workouts and all this stuff. And now, you know what? I'm lucky I can get on the bike a couple days a week and I'm just doing zone 2. Maybe
Right.
I got to back that position off a little bit, right? My goals have changed. I'm not using it the same way I was doing it before. I don't need to be in a super aggressive leverage position. Maybe I just need to kind of pull this up a little bit and just cruise at zone 2 for some mental health, or just finally getting back on the bike again, right? All these things affect the way in which we use the bike. The bike is a tool. So we need to use the tool the best we can, not, figure out how to make myself bend around this tool, right? Like, I own the bike. I move the bike to fit me. The bike doesn't own me, right? I don't be like, okay, this is where the bike wants to be. Now I just have to figure out how to get comfortable. That's not what should happen here.
I don't know. Sometimes out in the mountain bike trail, the bike has owned me a few times.
Yeah, for sure. Mother Nature has owned you, right? That's the difference. Is always remember it's Mother Nature's world, not
I
ours.
think we all have the scars from learning to ride clipped-in pedals and riding clipped-in pedals in the trails. And just as we progress, we all got the scars from being owned. Yes.
Yes, for sure.
One thing that's just coming to mind is crank arm length. Do you look at that a lot for folks? And in Peloton, is that relative? I don't even know. Can you change the crank arm length? And when should you look for something like that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm actually glad you brought this up. Crank arm length is, so for what people don't know, is if you think about where your pedal bolts in, right? So your pedal kind of bolts into this, that's your crank arm. It goes to the bottom bracket, which is where, the cranks are kind of spinning around. So the length of that arm affects how high your knee comes up. Okay, so here's the real problem is, especially for the Peloton shorties out there, right? Those people that are in that 5'2", 5 foot range, and they sell all types of devices out there, right? The handlebars coming back and the aero pad and all these. So what they should be selling, or what these people should be looking at, is what's called a crank arm adjuster. So you can't change the crank arms from what I'm aware of on the Peloton. I'm sure there's a way to do it, but it seems excessive to be able to take that whole crank out, get a belt driven crank that would fit in there that's shorter. But they do make a crank arm adjuster adapter. All right. And I can actually send you the link to one, Greg, and you can maybe put it up in the feed or whatever it is. But what it is actually, so what you're looking at doing ultimately is, think of my saddle height, right? And let's say I'm one of the Peloton shorties. So my saddle height is at 12.
Okay.
Everybody's foot is right here. Now, if my saddle height is 12, my hips are right here. So that means my knee is probably right in line with my hips if I think of how long my shin is, right? Now, I'm 5'10", 5'11". My saddle height is like 25. So my knee's only right here.
Right.
My hip's way up here. That means my front of my hip is open during that pedal stroke, right? Like I have my torso, and then at the top I'm here. Where some people on the shorter end, their knee might be level with their hip or above. So they're going through a really deep hip bend, and that can be problematic, right? So some people, I do end up recommending that they end up getting these crank arm adapters, because it just helps open up that pedal stroke. It feels more fluid. They feel like they can kind of get over the top. So crank arm adapter, to me, is the one thing that people should be talking about that they are not. Most people do not need one of those adjustable sliders forward and backwards, or the aero pads. I will say I fit well over 3,000 people on their Peloton bikes or indoor trainers over the last 3 years. Well over 3,000. Many of them are 4'11", up to 6 foot. I think the tallest guy was like 6'7", right? So some extremes. And what I'll say is, majority of the people that are in that 4'11" to 5'3" will say, do not need that crank arm adjuster. I'm sorry, the crank arm adjuster maybe yes, but not the handlebar adjuster. The thing that everybody gets, like that, and that's the first thing everyone buys, because they're like, I can't reach the handlebars. You reaching the handlebars is not due to your saddle.
Right.
You not reaching the handlebars has everything to do with your posture on the bike. And most likely, your saddle's probably too far forward. Moving your saddle forward does not get you closer to the bike. It sounds crazy, right? Like, it's like you're like, all right, this guy lost me.
Kind of. No, I got you. It rounds you, doesn't it? If you're just going to round your back instead of being elongated and have your trunk be in a more effective, efficient position.
Right. Exactly right. So the idea is always to have your spine straight. That's the hope. So imagine this is our spine, if you guys can see it, right? This is my shoulders, and here's my hips, my saddle. If I push my saddle backwards, my shoulders come forward. If I pull my seat forward, my shoulders come backwards. I sit upright. If I sit upright, I get further away from the handlebars.
Yeah.
So what happens is I then bend, right? So that's the real problem there. So sometimes, most of the time, sliding the seat back is going to get you in a better leaning position, which is going to get you closer to the handlebar. That's probably the biggest like aha moment for most of these clients that were fitting in this. They slide their seat back and they're like, oh my God, the handlebars feel closer. Why? Like, doesn't make sense when you think about it, but if you look at it, it makes complete sense.
I like that. That did it for me. That's Sometimes it's so simple. I love it. Just to explain. So, well done. And obviously, you do this all the time. And there's probably countless other things I can think of, like how wide should the pedals be, and numerous other factors. But you've given me enough to be comfortable, and I'm going to look at my road bike and my gravel bike and the indoor bike the next time I'm on them, and I'm going to take what you just said to me and make sure my saddle feels right, and make sure I am pedaling in a comfortable but also an effective position without my back rounded. And I think you've given a lot of good tips.
Yeah, I wish I could give a clear, easy, do this, do this, do this, and you'll be fine. I really wish I could, right? Like, but I mean, that would be amazing if we could, because we could just solve so many people's problems so quickly. But the fact of the matter is there is no, set it up to my hip, elbow to, like, the elbow to finger, just for people that are listening. Elbows to the bars. Okay. Well, how high are my bars? Right. So if my bar is here, I got to slide my seat super forward. But if I drop my bars, then I got to slide it back. So how am I? That's one of the major things, is like, this has nothing, there's no consistent variable there, right? Like it's not a good rule, right? And so hardly, like, everyone would be on A for the most part, like everybody. And I'm sitting here telling you that hardly anybody should be on A. So it's a really hard situation there. Like, there is no, I will fit somebody the same size as me, right? Same length, inseam, same height, same body build. Our saddle heights could be 2 numbers different easily.
Yeah.
Just from a pedal technique or a tightness or a range of motion issue. So there is no, hey, you're this tall, nah, you should be here. Like, there's just no way about it. Are you all legs, no torso? Or are you all torso, no legs?
Well,
like, all these things affect it.
What's great is you are able to take us all as individuals and not see us all as 5'10" or 5'8" and blanket fit us to a bike. And I think that's really important, because no matter what height and weight, and we all have our own individual physiologies. And I kind of include all that you just said: the tightness, the range of motion, even age or injuries, or just any indications that would cause injuries. And I think over time, it's a practice really that you get to see different people pedaling and seeing them as individuals. And I was hoping that from us talking, that the rest of the group could just get a glimpse, obviously, into what you do, but also feel more comfortable in moving some of the adjustments around on their own bike and seeing how it feels. Now, if I feel confident, so I hope we've passed that along. If is there a place, I think you mentioned a Facebook group, if they do have questions?
For sure. Yeah. So Team Wilpers Bike Fitting has a Facebook group as well. So you can hop on there. It's filled with thousands of people that have gone through the process with us, as well as some that haven't gone through the process with us yet. And myself, Lori, and Anthony, the other 2 full-time fitters, are on there moderating it on a regular basis. So, you can post up questions in there. Some people will definitely chime in on what they've learned through us, and we'll chime in. We'll definitely pop in there, and, or you can hit us up directly on there and ask Brian a question, right? Like, what about this? What do you think? We'll respond, right? Our goal here is to get everybody riding bikes for a long time, right? That is our one and only goal. And bike fitting is what's great is, if we really do a good job, I might not see you ever again. That's my goal. Because if I can get you set up, but not only set up, but I can educate you on why we're moving the seat back. What does that affect? Why are we raising the seat up? Why are we moving the seat down? Why are we moving the handlebars? Why are we putting your body in this position, right? If I can educate you for 45 minutes and you then can make changes on your own, something doesn't feel right 6 months down the road, you'll understand why you would move the handlebars up or down. And if you move them down, what's that negative feeling feel like? Oh, that's not good. We'll move them back up. Or let's move them down. But you know what? Let's also slide the seat back a little bit to help pull some of that weight back towards the saddle again. Maybe that feels good, right? Like that's the process we go through. It's not just move this here, move this here, move this here. You look good, go on. It's
While you're
I'm sliding your seat back from A to D because it's going to pull your hips back, which is going to allow your knee to come back over your foot, which is going to allow you to drop your heel. If we go too far forward, slide forward on your seat, you're going to see that your knee gets pushed out way past your toe and your heel lifts up. That's going to affect how we enter the pedal stroke, right? If we move that seat forward, it rotates that pelvis underneath you and you get that slouch, turn your glutes off, slide it back. We allow to rotate it forward, elongate that spine and torso. Why do we move? What does it feel like when your handlebars are too high? What does it feel like when they're too low? Right? That's the process that we're going through here to arm you with the information you need to feel comfortable, confident on the bike, and to possibly play with your own settings 3 months down the road. Yeah, we'd love to see you again 6 months or a year down the road for sure. And a lot of people do come back because they understand the service and they understand that they're going to gain additional knowledge down the road. But no, man, the key, man, I would love to fit you and then never see you again because you feel that confident in making all the changes. That would be a home run to me.
No way. I'm going to send you pictures. Hey, I'm this fast now because of what you taught me and what I've learned and taken what you've given me and I've run with it. That's what I'm hearing is the education part. And it's awesome. It's the same thing on the coaching side. You know, we can set up a plan, but a plan is, you can get a plan anywhere, but how do you alter the plan going forward? Because we all have jobs and families and outside lives, and what do you do with the other 23 hours of your day? So there's so much more to cycling, and yeah, we all want to stay on our bikes for the rest of our lives because it's fun and we want it to feel good and we want to get those good feelings from it. So
for sure.
Brian, this is awesome. Anything else you want to share with the group? I mean, these guys are in it. They are devouring information and what a pleasure it is for me to work with them all and see them making strides and boost their FTP if that's what they're going for, but also just hitting outdoor rides and feeling good about riding their bike.
Two main things. And I tell this to all my clients. I tell this to my kids, everybody. It's about consistency and community. Those are the two things that make anybody successful. You need to be consistent. Show up every day. I don't care if it's half of you showing up, right? I'd rather you never regret doing a workout. You only regret missing one. So get on the bike for 5 minutes because you'll stay on it for longer than 5, right? So consistency every day, just get on there, or every other day, whatever your plan is, 3 times, 4 times, 6 times, just make it happen, even if it's not for the full time. And then community is the other thing. If you have a community that's supporting you, that's in it with you, that believes in the goals and believes that you can be successful at those goals, how do you fail? You can't. Consistency and community, those two things, man, a home run.
I love it.
You can't fail.
I love it. Well said. Well said. Sometimes I've had folks in a small team setting or a large group setting. And if you, Brian, take your training plan and you follow it consistently and you hit your mark and you go to your race and you come in first or second, but you've done it with a team of 8 people or with 400 people, however many are in here, it's that much more enjoyable to share it with your team, not just your success, but the success of the whole group. So, and that's what's so fun for me to see in this team setting. So, pop into our Facebook group if you like.
Sure.
Some of these people will pop into your to the Bike Fit. What is it called? One more time.
It's just Team Wilpers Bike Fitting.
Team Wilpers Bike Fitting Facebook group, and Brian Hammond, Bike Fit Specialist. I can't wait. If I can get you on, if I can get into your schedule, I'm gonna try it. And we've talked about riding bikes together too. So I'm really looking forward to that up here in Vermont. And thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Awesome, man. Thanks for having me. Good luck,
You
everybody.
got it. Yeah.
That's great, man. What's crazy is I had